Here we go. I was telling Kelly that I already had to spend the first like couple minutes actually pulling up the pattern I'm going to be using. So super great start. Very prepared. Like,
Yeah. Well, I am doing like some interim activities because I'm waiting for yarn in the mail. So I'm like, well, I just have to have something to work on.
yeah. Yep.
Oh, he's coming back around.
He says maybe from this angle I can chew it.
Yeah, I don't know. He's gonna try and like act real casual about it and be like, "Oh, I'm just standing here," and then he's gonna like, go for it. I don't know.
I'm super innocent.
Yeah, he also has just recently started like stealing my socks, which he did not do before. Which I'm like, why? Why are you? We don't need new bad habits.
Like, yeah.
You have plenty. I'm just if it looks like I'm not looking at this, I'm watching him because he's sniffing some stuff right now, and I'm just making sure he's not going to take anything.
But,
yeah. I'm also like watching a little tutorial to make sure I remember how to do things.
All good.
I feel like every time I start knitting again, I have to like remind myself how to do things.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, it takes a while to get that sort of muscle memory. Like,
yeah, I kind of just immediately forget how to do things. So
yeah.
Also, yeah, if I like randomly say like a command, I'm probably not talking to you. I'm talking to like, leave it. Like, I'm not talking to you.
Get it out, Kelly.
Yeah.
I like that you said probably. Like, you're leaving open the possibility that you will have to
really that I'm just gonna like start yelling commands at you. Would you stop?
I'm sorry, Hawk. What did I do?
Right. Go find a toy.
I always forget how to purl. I don't know what it is. It's like
Purling
if I haven't
feels so unnatural. It's so uncomfortable, and I don't like it.
Okay. I think I got it now. Because I don't know. I just like completely lose it out of my mind which way I have to wrap the yarn. And I'm like, I don't remember what I'm doing.
Yeah. I've been knitting for so long, and there are still things that I have to look up every time I do them, or I have to say a little rhyme in my head to remember.
There we go. Marilyn's making his first appearance.
Hi, baby.
Oh, hello.
That is the face of total innocence. I don't know what
you're talking about. Yeah, I was going to say, how could he do anything wrong?
As you say that, he tried to pick up my knitting.
So I have never done a single crime.
Well, stop it.
Total innocent.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I need him to just settle down so I can actually do anything.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I really feel like, so among my 3 cats, I have noticed that they only teach each other bad habits. They do not pass on the good habits. And it's starting to feel like it's on purpose.
Yeah. We wouldn't want to do good things.
No. We are here for maximum chaos and being adorable. That's it. Okay. I am now second guessing myself, and I'm like, maybe this is not the pattern I was using.
Is this something you've already gotten in the middle of?
Sort of. So it's like I had barely started it, but it was like one that I've made before. And so I was like, I'll remember. Mm-hmm. Foolish past Kara. Like, oh. Let me see. Actually, I might know. And I usually print out my patterns because I like make notes on them and stuff. And I did print this one out at some point. It's just not with the project, which is unhelpful.
What are you making?
They're like hair accessories, and all I have right now is like this. So I've made a couple of like scrunchies with like flower decorations that are real cute. And then I also am working on one that's more of like, it looks like a bow that's really cute. No. So Yeah. And I am trying, like, I started doing this before the end of the year, actually. So it was an early New Year's resolution. I want to like actually finish some of my in progress like knitting projects, because like I don't mind having multiple going. I think that actually is like good for me and my creativity. But I'm like starting to get stressed out because of how many things I haven't finished. And so that's one of the things I'm working towards. So
Mm-hmm.
It's a
My
big goal.
problem is that like I want to finish some stuff because like I have this class I want to take, but I'm like, well, I have to finish this project so I can get my needles, or I'm gonna have to buy a new set of needles.
yeah.
So I need to finish this. So I have my size 8 needles. Like, come on.
Yep.
What's the class?
It's about cabling, and so I thought that'd be a good skill to learn.
I love
Yeah.
cable.
Yeah. I want to learn how to cable.
So that's
find
it's
it, like,
like it's
really
just a hat.
satisfying.
There's a hat. There are a few cabled hat patterns that I like that I'm like, I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure this out because I want to make these.
Yeah. There's some really cute cable patterns.
I think let me see if I don't know if you can. No, you can't see that picture.
I really
Maybe I
like
can
the
find
honeycomb cables. I think those look really cute.
I feel like this is so cute and I want to learn how to do it has been a really good like motivator for me on learning new techniques. Like it's healthy, I think. So
Yeah.
okay, I'm still trying to find the other pattern that this could be. The first chunk of our sprint is just going to be me looking for a pattern on my on my computer.
Honestly, I have been buying a bunch of patterns because like I was trying to decide between a few different like sweater patterns at one point. And a lot of at a certain point, a lot of them look very similar, especially if you're doing like a pretty simple style.
A simple
so,
one, yeah. No, I'm sorry. I was just agreeing. Like, yeah, if it's simple, there's only so much you can change.
Yeah. And so I bought a couple so that I could like read the patterns and decide which one I wanted to do. And this is the thing, like, honestly, I feel like patterns are underpriced. They are.
Yeah.
Somehow, this is the thing. Some people, I mean, I guess there are some expensive patterns, but most patterns that I have found are like under $10. And I feel like that's not very much for the amount of work that goes into making these patterns, at least the amount of work that goes into making a good pattern.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and especially like, sorry, go ahead, Kelly.
No, it's just like they have to like think it all through and what it's going to look like with different sizes, especially if it's like a sweater or something where there's different sizes and you can't just
grading it to different sizes. And then
there's
test knitters. So, and
so
then
much
like
math and yeah,
it's crazy.
And I think especially like, I mean, there's a lot of like patterns I've made where it's like, this is just like a good serviceable like set of instructions, no complaints, this is great. But like sometimes I'll find a pattern where it's like, oh, this is really well explained, like really well done. And like, you know, they have explanations for all the parts that like I would have questions about, but I don't know what to look up and things like that. So I feel like it especially feels underpriced when you find like, oh, this is the above and beyond of pattern making, you know?
Right. Or like they also have YouTube tutorials with them and like, you know, and I know making a YouTube video is a lot of work.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised because like in the quilting world, it's not unusual to have like a $20 or more pattern if it's like a pretty, you know, more extensive thing. So it seems like there should be that scale on knitting patterns too. Like if it's more intricate, it should be more expensive.
I mean, there are definitely some that are more expensive, but I feel like a lot of them are pretty inexpensive. Which also, like for me, I mean, of course, there's different price points for yarn and stuff, but like if I'm buying, yarn for a pattern. I'm like, the pattern is not the expensive part of the situation. If
Yeah.
I'm paying like $60+ probably more than $60 worth on like yarn, I want to, like, the pattern is not the thing I'm worried about how much it costs in this scenario.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Well, I found the picture. So this is the class I'm going to take. It's pretty simple, but
That's so pretty. I like that.
oh, I think I saw something very, I don't know if it was that one or something very similar to that, but it's very pretty. Yeah, I was looking at a hat very similar to that on Ravelry.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, let me see, it's called the Road Trip Hat, RHODE.
Let me see. I'll go look at my Ravelry and see if it's the same one I was looking at.
By Kara McKinley.
Well, she has a trustworthy name, so.
Yes, there you go. Though she doesn't spell it like you. She has a K.
Oh, yeah. It's a lot of K.
No, the one I was looking at was called the Mossy Lane hat, but it looks similar.
Yeah.
I hope you guys like cables when you get to them, because I love them. And apparently a lot of people don't like doing them. Like, I don't know. I guess, like, it is more, obviously it is more work than just, like, knitting straight across. But I find it, like, I find the specific, like, the way that you have to, like, pull stitches and hold them. Like, if you have a cable needle, it's not that complicated. And it makes my brain happy to, like, see the pattern and everything. Like,
yeah, I think that it kind of depends also on, like, what people enjoy about doing different crafts, especially in knitting, but like in all crafts, because I think some people, what they enjoy about knitting is like having kind of a mindless activity to do with their hands. And so doing something where they have to really keep track of, like, you know, doing a certain like texture or like color work or like things like that is more, it's not doing what they want out of it. They just want something that's like very straightforward so that they just have something to do with their hands. And then I think some people want something that's a little more like, takes at least a little bit more of like the thinking to like pay attention to what you're doing, because they want that like engagement with it. So just kind of, I think it just sort of depends on like what it is that you want out of it.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why I like having multiple projects going, is like there are times where it's like I just want to turn the like pattern following part of my brain off and just like hang out. And then there are some times where it's like I want intellectual stimulation from my crafting.
Right.
So.
And you want to like kind of get creative and
yeah, or like learn something new or something like that. You know, that those are all different like brain activities versus like I just want something to do while, you know, I zone out or like watch TV or something. And that's also, you know, a good part of the hobby.
Yeah.
I like the idea of cables because you can do something elaborate that has multiple cables, but you could also just be like, well, I'm going to do the sweater and I'm just going to have like one cable section in the middle, and it adds a lot more excitement to a piece without adding a whole bunch of technical. Like if you're doing mostly just a straight sweater with like a one section of cabling in the middle, like one design element.
Yeah, I agree.
Like one of my friends, she just finished a sweater and it just has like one section of cabling in the middle, and she was making it for her boyfriend, but she got to the end and she's like, I'm pretty sure this is gonna be for me, like because he put it on and it's like a bodycon sweater. So it's become her sweater.
I mean, she did put all that work into it.
Yep. And I guess that's like why you're supposed to gauge, but yeah.
I know, yeah. I don't, but you should.
I actually made a gauge swatch for what I'm knitting right now, so I was very like proud of myself for that.
Yeah.
Look at you.
So hopefully it works, you know.
But
Oh, yeah, I have no idea.
I think making the gauge swatch is kind of annoying, but I like having it because I like getting an idea of what it's going to look like. Because
Mhm.
especially with like, I feel like there's a lot of yarn that looks so different when it's actually knit. Like in the, hank or ball or skein or like whatever form it's in, it looks totally, especially if it has like any color variation to it, it looks totally
Yeah.
different once it's actually knit. And so I don't know, I find it helpful to actually see what it looks like so I know what to expect.
Yeah.
I always, whenever
Yeah.
I'm shopping for yarn, I always wish that they had examples of like the different colors knit into just like a swatch, because I just want to see what they look like.
Like that's one of the things that's actually nicer about ordering online sometimes is like I know that there can be color variation a lot more than you would have if you were in a store, but most of the online places I've looked at, like most of them have like at least some kind of knitted swatch for, even if it's not for all the colors, you can at least get a sense of like how this particular style of dyeing is going to look, when it's knitted.
Yeah.
And like I love variegated yarn and I use a lot of it, so I find it really helpful that a lot of places have kind of an example of that, because yeah, it is going to look so different.
Yeah. Like I felt like that with this when they in the hank it seemed a lot more colorful, and then when it got like rolled it seemed very like almost black. But then
Mhm.
like now that I'm knitting it, it looks back to colorful.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, because I was a little worried when she like wound it. I was like, oh, that's really dark. And
Yeah.
then and now it's looking okay. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, what's everybody making? I don't know if we introduced our projects yet.
We didn't. We just kind of started. Well, I mentioned already, I theoretically will be doing a couple of like hair accessory type things once I figure out what pattern I was using. In the meantime, I'm untangling yarn because that is something that pretty much always has to be done. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm making a cowl. So
Mm-hmm.
pretty basic, simple. I just I'd started this back in the spring and then put it away for all of summer, and then I'm like, I should finish this so I can actually wear it now that it's cold.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, I dropped my stitch marker. Okay, I'm good. um, I have kind of two options for today. So what I'm currently working on, oh wait, I have to count my row. Okay. What I'm currently working on is a pair of socks. So
Wow.
I have never made socks before.
You were jumping right in. Like,
Look at
Hey,
you!
I made this sweater.
Did you
oh
knit
my
that?
God,
This is my sweater that I made.
that's
Oh my gosh!
amazing.
So,
You should have gone with that.
yeah, leave me alone for 2 months. I got a sweater. I made this in 3 weeks. So
My goodness.
I definitely made mistakes. There are there's like one place where I tried to like ladder back to fix a hole where I had like dropped a stitch. And then I think that when I did that, I accidentally like pulled it up too far apart. So when I tried to like go back, it's like it messed up the tension. And now there's this like, you probably can't even see it, but there's this like weird line because it's like too loose right there, and the sizing is off. I made the yoke way too long. And so it's like I wanted it to be oversized, but it's way more oversized than I meant it to be. But like overall,
yeah,
I have a wearable sweater and I am excited about it. And I learned a lot from it, so
yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like throwing myself into it worked pretty well. I found a YouTube tutorial that had so I got like the pattern and I followed the tutorial so that so I could learn like how to read a knitting pattern because it's different than a crochet pattern. And honestly, crochet patterns, the abbreviations are much easier to understand. Knitting abbreviations don't really make sense. But that's just me. But yeah, it was, anyway, I'm on a tangent now because this is not my current project, but yes, since the last time we talked, I did make a sweater, and now I'm planning my second sweater. In the meantime, I needed some stuff to do, so I am trying to make socks. So I have a little itty bitty knitting needles. And yeah, I have this blue yarn that I got. This is, I forgot the brand name, but it's wool and nylon.
Yeah, that nylon's good to have in socks. Yep.
I remember we talked about that last time, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get some that has nylon in it, so it's a little stretchier. And like, these are just gonna be really basic socks. Another one where I found like a YouTube tutorial with a pattern. So this is my favorite way to like learn how to do a new thing. You know? Yeah. And yeah, so I'm working on this, and they're just gonna be really plain. And I think that I'm going to kind of see how far I get before I get to the point where I have to do the heel, because I'm probably going to have to like watch the video for that. So I'm not going to do it while we're doing this, but I like truly just started this morning. So I have a long way to go.
Yeah.
This is 7 rows. So
yeah, it takes a while. Like, I mean, socks are really small projects, but the yarn and the needles are so small that
these needles, do you see how tiny this needle is?
I know. Are you on a size like 0 or what?
No, it's a 1.5. So it's 2.5 millimeters.
Yeah. Yeah, they're small.
Yeah.
And like, I have had needles break before that were that small, because like, it's just,
these ones are metal.
That's
so good. Yeah.
I probably need to just plan on using metal needles when they're that small, but
that's essentially, yeah, I got wood needles for like regular sizes, but when I got this little, these are also fixed needles. Like I have a set, I actually have 2 different sets. I got too excited about buying needles. So I have a set of like long needles that are good for doing larger projects like a sweater, because it doesn't like drag on your hands so much. And then I have a set that's like shorter needles, but they're like interchangeable ones.
Yeah,
these are fixed, so I can't like do anything. But these are, I specifically got these just for making socks. Although I was thinking like, oh, maybe I should learn how to do double pointed needles next, because this is kind of annoying when it's this tiny.
The way that I learned how to do socks was with a pattern for double pointed needles, or at least it had both of them, but for whatever reason, I was like, that looks less confusing. So I learned with.
Yeah, the one I'm following, it uses either double pointed needles or magic loop. And I'm just like, I don't want to do magic loop. And so I just am using these, which are technically not how the pattern goes, but it's going to be the same essentially.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is, I'm going to see how far I get in this. I might work on this the whole time, or if I get to the heel, and or if I get tired of it, because sometimes my hands get tired doing such like tiny stitches. I have a bunch of other yarn that are in hanks that I need to turn into balls of yarn. So I could also do that, because I don't have a yarn winder.
I only got mine like a few years ago. That was like the big thing my family got me for Christmas.
Yeah.
And it is really nice. But like, I mean, you can go along without it. I didn't have one for ages.
At this point, I want to get one. At first, I was like, this doesn't seem like something I need, because all of the yarn I was buying like was never in a hank, so it didn't really matter. Yeah. And then suddenly I have a bunch of yarn that's in hanks.
When it's in hanks, it is so nice to have, like,
Actually, truly, yesterday, heart. I went to a yarn store to like look around, and they didn't have the actual yarn that I wanted. I was hoping they would have the yarn that I wanted to use for my sweater, but I can show you what I got. I can do a little yarn haul. I feel like I've just taken over right now.
Oh, you're fine.
This is Huck's yarn channel now.
Yes. Honestly, I kind of want to do more like crafty and like knitting related stuff on my channel, but also then I go like, do I really want to? There's like a certain amount where I'm like, oh, this is so fun, and I want to like talk to people about it. And then there's a certain amount where I'm like, well, then it puts extra pressure on it because it's like part of the channel. Anyway, so the blue yarn that I got for the socks, I bought yesterday. I also got, let's see, okay. This is, I think this is like just superwash DK merino wool. I don't know how well you can see the colors.
Is that just Malabrigo?
No, that's the brand I was thinking. That's what this is. This is
pretty. I love their yarn.
Yeah, they're nice. This feels and looks very similar to theirs. I thought it was, but it's Vivacious DK. Oh, it's by Fiber Spates.
I know that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I think I may have just ordered something else from them and I didn't realize they were the same brand. Anyways, I'm not quite sure what I'm doing with this one, but I had a couple of different like, you know, accessory kind of things that I was planning on making. So it's like, maybe I'll just use that. And then I got these other yarns that I'm like, again, maybe this is going to be overly ambitious for me, but there is a cabled hat that I wanted to make that the design of it, when I was looking at it, I was like, this looks like it should be, they did it in like all white, but I was like, if you have the right colors, it looks like it would be like a stained glass window. So I got 2 yarns at this one, which is sort of this patina color.
Ooh, pretty.
That I would do for like the cables and like the brim and everything. So it would kind of look like the outside of the window frame. And then I got this one for like the stained glass that's like inside between the cables. I don't know how well these colors are coming across because I'm very backlit right now.
It's so pretty.
But this one is Malabrigo Rios.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hoping together these will kind of look like stained glass windows, but also I don't know how to cable. So I might just have to learn so that I can make this vision happen.
Yes.
But yeah, so both of those need to be wound into balls. So if I get tired of making the sock, I can do that.
Yeah. Yep. One of the like in progress projects that I want to actually like get done. I have multiple pairs of socks that are not pairs of socks. They are one sock. They are one sock that I finished and then I did not do the other one. And I never used to have that problem. Like I know a lot of people talk about, I think they even have a nickname for it. Like, it's like half object syndrome. I don't know, something like that. And I never used to have that problem, and now apparently I do. So I need to like fix it because I'm annoying myself.
Yeah, I mean, so far I am liking making the sock because I enjoy that it's a small circumference, so it feels like you're making progress, you know?
Yeah, you're going fast.
Yeah. That was the thing that like with sweaters, people always talk about like Sleeve Island, where you like finish the whole sweater and then you just get tired on the sleeves. And for me, I mean, honestly, I have only made one sweater, so like I'm sure this could happen to me in the future. But for this one, at least, I got really tired doing the body of the sweater because it's so much bigger and it's just straight stockinette. And I'm just like, I feel like I'm getting nowhere. I'm knitting so long and going nowhere.
Yeah.
And then when I got to the sleeves, I was just like, yep, did a sleeve in a day. This is great. Making progress. You know?
Moving.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm the same, where the part where I start to like lose momentum is the body. Because it takes so long to just do one row. And it's funny because like on the tops where there's been a little bit more like decoration or like shaping, like the ones I've done have happened to be like at the sort of neckline, because I do top down sweaters. At some point I want to try doing the other kind, but we'll see.
It's more complicated.
Yeah. So basically it's like I've done the like more intricate, more not frustrating, but like intensive stuff. And then I'm like, oh, this is so nice. I can just like sit here and knit. And then like within a few rows, I'm like, no, I'm bored again. I need to like I want to do something else. Like
Exactly.
it's nice to have the break, but then very quickly I'm like, oh yeah, I remembered why I wanted to do this pattern.
Most of the time I don't watch that much TV, but while I was making the sweater, I watched like so much TV.
Yeah.
What? Oh my god, why is he barking? I rewatched all of Anne with an E.
Mm.
And then I also rewatched the Little Men from like the 90s. It was at the 80s or the 90s or something. The TV show. I don't know if you did you ever watch that?
I know of it because I've read Little Women, but
Okay. Well, there's a TV show that's from like the 80s or 90s, and I watched it as a kid. I have very vague memories of it because my mom loved Little Men. Um, uh, because she always like the idea of like having a school for all these kids, like she was like obsessed with it. And so she loved that, which maybe explains also part of why she was into homeschool.
she was living her dream. Like,
Exactly. But yeah, so I vaguely remember watching it as a kid. I found it online. I like found it to watch, and so I started watching that. And I realized at a certain point that I was like, oh, this and Anne of Green Gables are set around the same time. They're both like late 1800s, and I didn't realize that at first. And then after I finished that, I was like, you know what I'm in the mood to watch now? Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. Did you ever watch that?
When I was a kid.
Do you know what this is? Do you know what it is? Okay. Have you heard of this? Do you know what Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman is?
I have not.
Okay. So it is another show set around the same time that is about, which I never realized that these were all set around the same time, but it is about this woman named Dr. Quinn who I think starts out in Boston, and she is like a medical doctor. She went to one of the few like women's colleges or something, and she, practices medicine with her father, who's also a doctor, and then he dies, and none of the patients will come to her anymore. And so her idea is to like go out west to the frontier to be a doctor out there because they have fewer doctors. And so she's like, well, they'll have to come to me.
Yeah.
And so she answers like an advertisement for a doctor, and then they don't realize, they were like, wait, I thought you were a man. And then she's like, I'll prove myself to them.
Yeah.
And then of course she also has like a romance and all of this, and it's the like, city girl like out in the frontier and like all of this kind of stuff. And there's there's always an emergency, obviously.
Of course. You can't have just like a regular medical problem.
No. Yeah, and that's most of what I remember from it. Honestly, though, when I was watching Little Men, I was like, truly almost every episode, someone dies or almost dies. And I was like, I was not signing up for this level of drama. Yeah. There was finally one episode where the level of drama was like, they had a writing competition and one of the kids stole another kid's story and submitted it, and then they were going to get the credit for it, and they had to like listen to their conscience. And I was like, this is the level of drama I'm here for.
Not like everyone has cholera. Like,
right. We don't need people constantly dying. Like, we can just have like drama of the conscience,
Right. Internal drama.
Yeah.
I actually that's so random that you would bring up Dr. Quinn, because I just was listening to like a comedian that was talking about this. It was doing this whole joke of like, can you imagine being back then in the like pitch room and be like, let's have a show with a doctor, but let's make her a woman. But wait, that all makes it seem sexist. Let's put it in the 1800s. So then it'll be okay that it's like a novel, that it's a woman doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And I hadn't
Also-
thought of that show in forever. And then,
Huck taking you down memory lane.
yeah, it's like I heard about it twice in like a week.
Well,
That's so funny.
you gotta
what
watch
is
it.
What is that called? Synchronicity. I love stuff like that.
Synchronicity.
Yeah.
Very exciting. I think I figured out what I was making.
Oh, good.
So you know what
So
you're
I
doing
was
now.
I was making a cute little flower decoration that I have been putting on the hair pieces I'm making. I might be like, I don't know. I don't even. This is like what you were saying, Huck, about like putting something out there and then making it have like pressure put on it. But I was thinking about maybe doing a couple for this sort of like craft fair thing, but I don't know. Like,
That'd be cool.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see if I still feel like it. Okay, let me check where I'm at because I gotta count something.
Yeah. I also recently have been really, I haven't done anything yet, but I've really been wanting to get in, kind of, I guess, sort of back into needle felting. Because I did it at one point. Well, I've done felting of, like, I did wet felting when I was little, and then I did needle felting years ago, like when I was older, but still years ago at this point. And then just recently I was like thinking about like getting back into needle felting, and I recently just bought a bunch of books about it. And yeah, so that's another thing that may be on the horizon, another fiber craft for me to get into.
Yep.
I'm trying to look up this. My pattern for my cowl just tells me how many knit and purls, but it doesn't say how long to make it. I'm like, how tall do you normally make this thing?
Mm-hmm.
So
How do you keep track of your rows?
well,
I use a row counter usually.
I do.
Yeah.
I just got one. Well, I got one for making this because I was just like, this is too many rows. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I was gonna do something long, I would probably do that. This pattern is just like 2 knit, 2 purl, so it's pretty like
Oh yeah.
easy to keep track, and then I just go until it's the right height. So, but if I was gonna do like a sweater, I would think I would buy a row counter.
Yeah.
Which that's what I got my friend for Christmas, and then I was like, I should have gotten myself one too.
Yeah.
Because I always think I'm gonna remember like where I'm at.
I know.
And then
I know. Danger. Oh, Kelly, you know, I was telling you how my mom loved A Jury of Her Peers, and she's recommended it to like literally like 14 people at this point.
Yeah.
He's bringing it up to everybody. She was like, Huck needs to tell me a book to read. Like,
What?
he knows that we do these crafting sprints. And so, like, naturally, she's like, well, now it's Huck's turn. Like, pick me something to read.
Oh, did Kelly recommend a book?
Sort of. So, like, I had read it on Kelly's recommendation, like, a while ago.
Okay.
And then my mom was asking me, like, she wanted something to read that was like kind of short, and I was like, well, you loved The Yellow Wallpaper, I think you would really love A Jury of Her Peers. And I kind of told her what it was about, and she's like, ooh. So she read that and loved it, and has now been like evangelizing it everywhere. Like, she's like telling like random people at like the post office, and like she's like, you should read this. So
Everybody
you've
should
got a
read
lot
this.
to live up to, Huck.
Oh man, I'll have to think about that, because also like your mom doesn't read fantasy, right?
Okay, so I think she's in denial because he still says that. But I got her to read Island of Whispers by Frances Harding, which she loved.
Okay.
I've gotten her to read Half a Soul, which she also really enjoyed. This one isn't, I mean, The Giver isn't fantasy, but it is like speculative.
Yeah.
And I got her to read that whole series on Julia's recommendation, and she loved that.
Yeah, it's like
So-
dystopian, so it's close
Yeah.
enough.
So like I am of the opinion that my mom has not admitted to herself that she reads speculative or fantasy. So I was thinking maybe about recommending Juliet Merlier to her because like my mom really loves like character development, like character stuff, and I think like
Yeah.
it's funny like sometimes when she reads a book that has a kind of like fantasy element and she's like, I really like that. I was like, I told you you would. She's like, yeah, like I just like the kind that has, and she's like talking about basically like character development and like themes and stuff. I'm like, yeah, like good fantasy has that. Like it's not just like dragons running around doing things. Like so.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in that case, like maybe Blackthorn and Grimm would be good.
That's the one I was thinking. That's the one I was thinking about.
I know
Especially because my mom loves murder
also.
mysteries.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It has like a mystery. It's just like, also, I think as far as like fantasy goes, it's not like really intense fantasy because it's more like folklore kind of.
Right. It's more like historical, and it's the way that he writes the historical parts. It has like a fantasy flavor to it, and once in a while you'll meet one of the fair folk, but most of the time,
right? Yeah. Once in a while, it's like, yeah, the folklore is actually for reals, and they're like, oh, you know. But like, yeah, for the most part, it's not like super high fantasy.
Yep.
And there's not a lot of like crazy world building that you have to understand or anything.
Yeah. And like,
also, I was gonna report back to you that you've read you were not waiting for this, but you read Daughter of the Forest, but you haven't read the second book, Son of the Shadows, right?
Correct.
I don't think you would like it, honestly. I reread it recently and I was like, I don't think you would like it. Like, I still love it, and I'm like, I think I somewhat have like nostalgia glasses. Like, I think it's good. I also have nostalgia glasses somewhat for this, but I think but if you're like reading it for the first time and also with some of the things that you specifically don't like, I don't think you would like the main love interest, because at the beginning of the book, he's like very misogynist, which I forgot. And by the end, he does grow, but it's more in the way of like, you're the exception because I like you, you know? And not like and I think that like it feels genuine for him, and I think that if we stayed with his character longer, probably would change more. But like, you don't, because each book is about a different person. And so like from the beginning of the book to the end of the book, I'm like, that could have been better. And I think you would be mad about it.
Okay. I appreciate you looking out for me.
Yeah. But yeah. So anyway, but yeah, she might like the Blackthorn and Grimm.
Yeah.
My mom loves that series, so you know.
Yeah. I mentioned to my mom when she was like, Huck needs to pick something for me. I was like, well, apparently Huck's mom and I have like identical reading tastes, so that would be pretty funny if Huck can like recommend something. So
have you been, I can't remember, Huck, if you've been reading the Bejeweled fantasy?
Oh, Lois McMaster Bejeweled?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like her. Well, I've read I really like her like Penrick and Desdemona series, and I also liked not as much, but I liked the Realm of the Five Gods series from her.
Because I haven't read her fantasy yet, but that was the one thing I liked about the first sci-fi book. I don't think, I'm just not a sci-fi person and like space opera, but I really liked her character work. So I wonder if like that would be like a fantasy with good character work. At least her first sci-fi.
Yeah. I think, I mean, honestly, I have kind of decided to soft DNF the Vorkosigan saga, because similarly, I'm like, I'm not a big sci-fi person, and this isn't the type of sci-fi that I really like.
Yeah.
So I could see myself picking up a book in the future if I'm just like, if one day I'm just suddenly like, wow, I'm so in the mood for this type of sci-fi. It's not like this is the worst, I'm never reading this again. But like, I'm not planning to finish that series. Yeah. Anyways, her fantasy, I really like her Penric and Desdemona series the most is a series of novellas. And I mean, I think that the type of character work that she does stays pretty consistent across her books. One of the things that I always really like about her characters is that they are like, they're very like sensible, you know? There's something like, it doesn't stop there from being drama, but there's like some kind of like, they just seem very like practical and sensible. And especially in their relationships, they're just like, we need to just talk about this, you know?
Which is what I liked about whatever the first one, Shards of Honor. But I was like, oh,
yeah.
I'm getting tired of all the planets and the politics. I just want to like, I just want to follow these characters. And it was distracting from the characters because there was all this like stupid space politics.
Yeah.
Like, I am so curious. I think I'm going to have to at least try the first one because I want to know how I would feel about it. Because, like, I am also very picky about sci-fi, but I do like space politics usually.
Mm-hmm.
And everything you guys say about the main character, I think I would love him. And so that might, like, I don't know, that might pull me through the parts where I'm a little bored. So maybe this will be our unofficial group read for the crafting sprints. But
the Vorkosigan saga?
Yeah, just because then we all will have read it.
Right. Yeah, you can tell us what you thought of it.
Oh, my mom also really liked Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher.
Okay.
So that's the other kind of fantasy that she really liked.
That's part of why I was recommending Bejeweled because that's what Angela from Literature Science Lands, the reason I tried for Kosigan was she kept comparing it to T. Kingfisher, and I was like, she's like, it's not the same, but there's something about it. And when I read Shards of Honor, I'm like, I get it. It's the character. It's because they're sensible people, and that's what T. Kingfisher does too. They have common sense and don't just seem like, you know, the chosen one. They're just like normal people.
They
like
feel like how real people would react to this like wild like fantasy or sci-fi world. Like
which is what I liked about Shards of Honor too. So I think they have like similar in the way they approach their characters, and they do more middle-aged. Like T. Kingfisher does more middle-aged characters, and it seems like Bejeweled does that too.
Yeah, in what's it called? In Penric and Desdemona, it starts out with Penric being pretty young. I think he might be like in his 20s, but then it follows, like the series keeps going and he is like becomes much older. And then also Desdemona is like 100-year-old demon who has the personality of like 5 old ladies in her like consciousness. So yeah, you get like, it's not just like a bunch of teenagers. That series does get much more into like the religion of the world, which is something I really like about it. I love a good fantasy religion, especially a fantasy religion that's not just like a thinly veiled real world religion.
Yeah.
I recently, I guess I haven't posted the video yet where I talked about my DNFs for the year, but there was one where there was like, I read this book that I DNF'd for other reasons, but there was this like, there's the old religion and the new religion. The old religion is persecuted. And the old religion is like a monotheistic religion where their symbol is a cross. And I was like, I wonder what religion this is supposed to be like.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they get very into the like theology of the world within Penric and Desdemona, which I think is very fun.
Yeah, I think my mom would be into that too.
Yeah, so that's... And then there are other books. The Realm of the Five Gods, or the World of the Five Gods series, is like a companion trilogy of full-length novels that are not about Penric and Desdemona. They just happen in the same world, which I also like. I don't like them as much as Penric and Desdemona. I definitely recommend Penric and Desdemona more than the other series, which starts with Curse of Chalion. Oh, you read Curse of Chalion, right?
I loved that one. Yeah,
I thought it was good. I personally just like Penric and Desdemona more, but the World of the Five Gods series is also good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cool.
We'll just get everyone on the lowest Master Bujold train,
I know.
you know?
Well, if they're novellas, maybe I should read it this month as part of the short stack readathon.
There you go.
Hey.
Oh, speaking of Kelly, I'm like so behind on everything video related, so I'm also behind on replying to comments. But I saw you saying that it's like going well. You've already finished a few things. I have finished, I think, one thing. But considering that in December, I think I read like 2 or 3 books total. I'm like, that's great. So
Yeah. Well, like last year was my lowest reading year since like 2017. Like
me too.
I read 71 things, which doesn't seem like a small number probably for the average person, but considering that I've been over 100 since 2017, that like 71 seems pretty low. Like I was basically some months just reading 3 books the whole month.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've finished 5 things, so 4 short things, and then I'm trying to read 1 big book a month, and I've already read my big book this month.
Hey.
All right.
So I'm like, I'm on a roll. We'll see if it lasts past January, but at least if I can get the momentum started, maybe.
Yeah. Last year was like a record low for me as well in terms of like the number of books I read.
Mm-hmm.
I only read 49 books, which since starting BookTube, like I usually read more like in the 70s to 80s. I've had some years where it was like, you know, up to like over 100, but most of the time I think like 70s and 80s is kind of my usual. But anyway, so 49 is very low for me. But also I was kind of in a reading slump for a lot of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I quit a lot of things this year too. Like, so I think in the past I've like had DNF less and like kind of pushed through, which made it so like I had a lot more 2 or 3 stars. Where this year, this in the 2024, the one good thing is that I only had 2 2-star books the whole year and no 1-star books. Like, so, and I guess I had a fairly decent amount 3-star, but the fact that I only had 2 2-stars the whole year, it's like I'm just quitting things that I know I'm not gonna like.
Yeah.
That is my go-to.
I definitely don't DNF as often as I think most people say is healthy. And it's like, it's for a reason that like I would not recommend to people, but I'm like very vindictive about it, where it's like if I'm far enough into a book that I can reasonably finish, I'm like, well, I may be having a terrible time, but at least I can count this for my reading challenge. Which again, not a good way to think about reading, but I'm not going to try and change it because it does actually make me feel less like I wasted my time.
Yeah. Well, my 2 2-stars too, like where one was in a series that I want to continue the series. I just think this one was not following a character I liked.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, I'm just going to speed up the audiobook and zoom through it and just call it a wash because I want to get to the next character.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the one, the Earthsea. I did not like the 3rd book in the Earthsea, but like the 4th book follows the same character as the 2nd book, and I really liked her in the 2nd book. So I was like, okay, well, I just have to get through this guy that I just don't like.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason I finished that one. And then the other one that I gave 2 stars, I should have DNF'd. It was like a young adult horror, and I knew from the beginning what the ending was going to be, but everybody kept saying it was such a good twist, and so I was like, I got to make sure that I'm right. And then it was like, of course I was right at the end, and I wasted my time.
I will sometimes hear people like reviewing books like that, and I'm like, I bet I know what happens, and I will just go read spoiler reviews to figure out.
I should have just done that. I should have given up because it was like so poorly written. I should have just like been like, let me just spoil myself for the ending.
Yeah. One that like when we when we read Daggerspell,
Oh my god.
I was like, that's one that looking back, I probably could have DNF. Like I should have,
It was
because
not getting better. It dug a hole too deep.
it did. Like, and okay, the fact that I read that and 100 Years of Solitude in the same year, upsetting. Like too much, way too much incest plots. Why?
Oh my gosh.
Did you sorry, I was looking at where I was in my thing. But that one was for like the 100 Year Solitude was for your book club, right? So you kind of had to.
But it's just unfortunate that like that I read like 2 1-star books where a big chunk of it was incest. Like, I mean, there was a lot of other things wrong with both of those books, in my opinion. But yeah, that was certainly one of the less pleasant things they had in common.
Yeah.
So.
I have a video that I'm probably gonna post like next week or something. That's all my DNFs from the year, or at least the ones that I remember. And when I was trying to like explain Daggerspell, I was just like, I've just kind of ejected a lot of the details from my memory because I just hated it so much.
For
but
your
also,
own health and well-being.
I didn't know how to impress this upon you, how terrible this book was on like every level.
Yeah. Yep.
Is this a classic or what is this?
It's not, but it's almost like a classic fantasy at this point. Like it is still widely loved and recommended, and they just did like new editions like a few years ago. And
there are like 16 books in the series. It is
so many. There's so many. I just like
Yeah, I think in my like video I said, I was like, I am baffled that someone published this book, let alone let them write more books.
Okay, now I have to look it up. What's it called?
Daggerspell.
Dagger what?
Daggerspell. It's all one word.
Okay. I'm seeing it. I mean, it definitely has the old school fantasy cover. Okay. And you're saying that one has a lot of incest, is that why?
Yes. I mean, there was like other things
wrong with it.
Like it was not a great book for a lot of different reasons.
Like on a technical level, also just bad. Like it was poorly written and constructed, characterization terrible, writing terrible, like pacing terrible, like everything was bad, and then also incest, which was not handled well.
Not at all. No. And the weird thing about that too is that it was so hard to find any reviews that mentioned it. Like there were a couple of reviews on Goodreads from people who were like, hey, this is kind of weird. Like, and like nobody else mentioned it. I was
honestly, like people really don't explain what the book is about, because I also didn't realize that it was a reincarnation plotline. That it's like these people who are under a curse and find each other because of incest, and then find each other like lifetime after lifetime, to I guess right their wrongs. But anyway, they just like don't explain what the book is about at all in descriptions.
Yeah.
That's just like a basic fact that I didn't know about it.
Yeah. See, I don't know if you can like tell, but it's going to be a cute little flower when I sew it together.
Ooh.
That's fun. I actually have one that's like mostly finished and decorated, so I'll have to show that sometime maybe, but it's very nice to work on like tiny projects sometimes.
I like the feel of smaller needles better, so I also just like that.
I think my like sweet spot is like size 6 or 7. I also like 8. Those are pretty standard, but like I like mid-range. I don't like super small, and I don't really like super giant. So
I like started off learning on like 11s and 13s and stuff, and then I recently took a class where they use 6 and 8s, and I was like, oh, this is so nice.
Yeah.
And now I'm back on 11, and I'm like, oh, they feel so clunky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to remember, because I always look at the millimeters, not the size.
I know. I should learn how to.
What is this?
But I don't.
8 millimeters. But this is also thicker yarn, so I guess it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't actually know what. I think I like 4 millimeter needles a lot.
I gotta look at my
What
conversion
size that
chart.
is.
Because I'm a foolish American who doesn't know metric. Let's see. Oh, 4 millimeters is a US 6. So like what I was saying too.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I like those.
Well, I am enjoying what I'm reading so far for Short Stack Readathon, so that's going well.
Did I
Good.
count this row?
I read the new Frances Harding illustrated book.
I still need to buy that one. I'm so excited.
Which one is it?
It's called Forest of a Thousand Eyes, I think.
Oh, right. Yes. Okay.
And it's green. It's definitely a fable.
Okay.
Like, because it's like short and kind of just like definitely has a point that it's like pushing, not subtle, but like, you know, it's definitely meant to be that way. It feels very fable, like we're definitely meant to have a moral to the story.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I even feel like Island of Whispers was a little bit like that, but not in a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because it had several different like big themes that it was about, it even though it was really short, it didn't feel heavy-handed to me, you know, because it was like a few different sort of connected themes. But yeah, I'm interested to see how the forest one is different.
And to me, it was just like, I think the reason it felt more fable-like was that it didn't feel like the main character had a lot of like characteristics, where I felt like the main character in Isle of Whispers, like,
I love Milo.
I loved him.
I love Milo.
I feel like there was a lot about him and his growth and his like purpose in life. Where this one is like, we have a main character and we're following her the whole time, but it's really about the world and the people in the world learning about each other, you know.
Okay, well that's good information for me to have going in. I will be prepared for that. Because I always love Frances Harding's main characters. Like, I'm pretty sure that every single live show that Hannah and I did on her books, I'm pretty sure every single one of them started with us being like, I love this main character. We always love this main character.
Yeah, there's still less. I mean, not that I didn't like her. I just feel like there was a little less characterization for her. And it was a little more about the world and what was happening.
Yeah, which I'm glad to have that sort of expectation set. Hello, teaching your son to paper mache. Love that. On brand for our craft sprints. Thank you. Yes, hydrating really important. Also, I guess sort of tangentially related, I did put just a couple links on if you're looking for ways to help the people affected by the LA wildfires in particular. Obviously, there's a lot of those lists going around, but I thought I would just like include a couple things, including pet shelters in the area because they need a lot of help too. But yeah.
Speaking of Frances Harding, though, I actually recently started A Face Like Glass.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not very far into it yet. It's very weird.
It's super weird. I think it is one of the
weirder than Unraveler was.
Yes. And that's why I think that Unraveler is like a much better one to start with. Even though I love A Face Like Glass, and I think that was my first one from her.
Yeah.
It is like very heavily towards the like bizarre scale like of her, like her books are like weird anyway, which I love, but that one especially.
Yeah, it's very strange. I do find the main character a little annoying in this one so far, but like she's doing stuff where I'm like, I get your thought process, but also you're annoying.
Yes, I fully agree and understand. I think that she can be very frustrating at the beginning, and it's like it makes sense why she's so naive and everything, but
Yeah.
it can be hard to watch. But I do think that she develops. Thank you. Yeah, I love this mug too. And one of my kitties is orange, so I especially
Aw.
I think it's cute.
I don't know, like I have such a hard time with Frances Harding because some of them I've just loved, like Gullstruck Island. I was just like absolutely love that book.
That's my
Probably
favorite.
a favorite of all time.
Yes.
And then I never finished Face Like Glass. I'm sure I'll go back sometime, but yeah, it was like too weird at the beginning, and I was
it's
like
really strange. It's really strange. Yeah.
I was having a trouble getting into it. Same as is it Fly By Night? Is that the or is
Also
it the,
very strange. Yeah.
yeah? I was like, I'm just having trouble acclimating to this world and like these
You
people.
know what? You guys just gave me a really good idea. I feel like because I've been thinking is like I kind of want to do like a redo of my Frances Harding like overview video. I wonder if I should do one that is like the sliding scale of like how bizarre her books are and like you know like how to sort of get into them and get started.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I do think A Face Like Glass is one of her strangest, and I love it, but I understand why.
Well, actually, I have a question about A Face Like Glass. So in the premise, it's like this whole thing about people having to like, they're the face smiths and they like sell expressions and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So do the people like literally not have faces? Like it's just blank? Or do they have facial features but no expressions?
The second one. So
Okay.
it's like they have like no expression. They're like completely like dolls almost, like completely neutral. And they have to buy expressions.
That's what I thought, but sometimes the way they said it, I was like, wait, do they just like, are they buying a face? Or like, okay. That makes more sense.
Yeah. And then like the one that we read that was the Wishing Well one, that one just feels like more normal, I guess, because it's kind of set in real life.
Yeah.
Like in our world, but there's magic.
That was the one that I started my mom with because I was like, this is mostly contemporary, and then there's one weird thing.
So it's like it's hard to know what you're getting into. So then it's like, am I ready for that super weird, or do I need to like go for one that is just like partly weird?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. I started A Face Like Glass and then I haven't listened to it for a few days. And I'm kind like, it's not that I don't like it, but it has such a distinct feeling to it that I'm like, I don't know if this is what I want to read. Like, I feel like it's something that maybe I really have to be in the mood for because it's very specific.
It's a very strong flavor. Like,
yeah.
I think even more than a lot of Frances Harding's other books. So, yeah, I would get that.
Oh, and I'm also reading 10,000 Stitches. So I'm continuing Have a Soul. So like your mom, I guess. I'm just reading all the same authors as your mom is.
I love that. I love that. Well, I've been pushing both of them on, like, both of you guys, so
yeah. Well, sense. I'm glad you didn't like stop pushing on Half a Soul, because I finally, when I read it, I was like, okay, well now this is like my favorite book of 2024. So
I love it so much, and I'm so glad you loved it too. Like, it's one of those books where it's like an itemized list of things that are specific for me. Like, Olivia Atwater wrote this series for me, and I thank her for it.
Yeah, I really love it, because I don't always do like fairies, but this is like different. It's not like,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
it's not like Sarah J. Maas fairies. It's just like fairy tale fairies.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Sarah J. Maas fairies are not really fairies.
They're like their own specific thing.
Yeah.
So I really like it, and so I'm reading the second one, and then I saw that she has another series. Have you read that? Like I think there's only one book in it, but there's like a newer series.
Is it the Victorian fairy tales?
Yeah.
Ones? I have it because I am like hoarding the first book. So I have it. The Witch Would Not, but
yeah, that one.
I have not read it yet because I'm like too excited about it.
I know. I almost went after I read Half a Soul. I almost went out and bought all of her books, and I was like, okay, let's calm down. Let's just buy 10,000 Stitches and just like one at a time.
Yeah.
I need to stop buying like all of people's books, and
Yeah.
and spending all my money and having them sit on my shelf.
Yeah. Yep.
But I'll probably have to buy Long Shadow soon, since I'm halfway through 10,000 Stitches.
Yeah. I like love, I loved all three of them. I would be hard pressed to pick a favorite between the first two, because I love them both for different reasons, but also kind of the same reasons. I don't know. I'm excited for you to finish it.
Yeah, I don't at this point. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, at this point, I don't know that it would beat out Half a Soul, because I think I just really love Dora.
Yeah.
As a main character. And Effie, not that I don't like her, but I just don't love her as much as I loved Dora. And like, but I still have half a book left, so maybe I will.
Yeah. I do love Effie, so that definitely, I think, elevated it for me. But yeah, I love those books. I'm so excited Olivia Atwater is like having a moment. Like, not to brag, but her and T. Kingfisher, I sort of feel like, I liked them before they were cool, you guys.
Yep.
Ahead of the trend here.
Did you read, because I know you don't read as much of T. Kingfisher's horror. Did you read the one? Oh, no, can't think of what it's called. Hold on. I have to look it up.
Is it A House with Good Bones?
No, one of the older ones. Hold on. I really just cannot remember what it's called. Kingfisher. The Hollow Places. Did you read that one?
I have to look it up. I have read one of her horror books, and I can never remember.
What, the one with the tree on the cover?
It was.
Yeah.
I think the Hollow Places. The creepy taxidermy and willows.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one I read.
Yeah, and I didn't really like that book.
Yeah.
But like, it stayed with me, because not too long after I read that, I now have like in my office a giant taxidermied otter.
Oh my god! No!
I'm laughing.
Wait, I missed something. I just heard taxidermy otter. Like, what's happening?
Well, I work at a nature center. And so we have a lot
that makes more sense.
Yeah. We have a lot of taxidermied animals. But like, normally they're in the exhibit hall, but we don't have room, because people donate these animals to nature centers, and we don't have room for all of them. And so we just have random taxidermied animals in our attic. And I was up there one day and I was like, there's an otter, and it's just sitting up here by itself in the attic. And so I brought it down and put it in my office. And it's big.
Like,
it's like this tall, and it's like just there.
Is it so you can like keep an eye on it?
Yeah. But it just makes me laugh, because I think of that book.
Yeah.
With the taxidermy otter in it.
Oh man. It's like if you come in and it's in like a slightly different spot, it's like you get up, you're like, I'm out. I'm bye everyone.
It has yet to move, I promise.
Yeah. Oh man. T. Kingfisher is very good. Like, there's several authors where I'm like, you are very good at terrifying me of like very normal things. Like yeah, so that's the only one of her actual horror books that I have read, and I also was pretty mid on it. It was fine. There are parts I liked about it, but yeah. Aside from what's the one we read that we didn't like? Sword Heart. Aside from Sword Heart, it's my least favorite from her.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I liked her I like her Sworn Soldier one, the newer ones, I cannot like recall what?
What Moves the Dead?
Yes, What Moves the Dead. Like I like that series.
Did you read
But
the second one?
yeah,
What did you think of that? Because I liked What Moves the Dead, but I didn't really like What Feasts at Night.
I liked it for the characters. I didn't think the plot was as good as
Mm-hmm.
the first one, but I do really like Easton and the the Potter lady, like Mrs. Potter or Miss Potter or whatever. I enjoyed them as characters, but in terms of like the plot, and it probably helped that the first one she had like a ready-made start to a plot by basing it off of the fall of the House of Usher.
Mm-hmm.
Where this one it didn't have as much meat to the plot.
Yeah.
But I still enjoyed reading it. Unlike Hollow Places, where I didn't like the characters either. I was just like, I don't like a lot of this.
Yeah. It's funny, I liked the main characters. Was it her uncle? And like
Yeah.
he wasn't even in it really, but I'm like, he seems like a cool guy. Like
Yeah, I liked the uncle, but like her and the like coffee shop owner, they were like some of the most generic of her characters, I think.
mm-hmm. Well, it's like that was our one of our problems with Sword Heart is it's like she's
Yeah.
done both of these character types so much better and everything else. Yeah.
Did you read Sword Heart, Huck?
No.
We don't recommend it.
Okay, good to know. Actually,
don't
honestly, T. Kingfisher can be a little hit or miss for me, so that is probably I should avoid that.
Well, it's funny because like overwhelmingly she's a hit author for me. I
Right.
love almost everything I've read from her, but it's really interesting that a lot of people I follow who have been reading her love Sword Heart.
Yeah. A lot of people love
Kelly and
Sword
I
Art.
did not.
Yeah. I'm very
Did not at
confused
all.
of why people like Sword Heart.
Yeah. Yeah, I am as well. Because like I think part of it at least could be explained by like if you read it when you haven't read as many of her other books, it would maybe feel fresher or like not. I don't know. You wouldn't have as many things to compare it to.
Yeah, true. Like because her humor is still there in that book.
Yeah.
But if you didn't have other books that still have the humor but better characters, you don't know that there's like
Yeah.
better versions
And a
of it
more
out.
interesting plot.
Yeah.
Literally walking back and forth on the same road for the whole book. And
Yeah.
making a joke about it doesn't fix it. Like,
No.
yeah. So I need to grab a couple of knitting things. So I'm gonna turn off my camera real quick.
I actually was gonna grab something too. Do we want to just like take a quick break?
Yeah.
Sure.
Do we want to do like we always throw in like one actual reading sprint. Do we want to do that?
Sure.
Sure, because I need to get something to snack on. So
Yeah, I need a drink.
All right. So we are gonna take a hydration / snack / reading break. Should we come back at like 45?
sure.
Okay.
Okay, cool. I
All right.
will see y'all then. Hello. We are technically black. Kelly, what's on your mug?
Cats.
Love it. They're so cute.
3 black cats because we have 3 black cats.
Yes.
So I was so cold because I forgot to put the heater on down here when I came down here. And I was like, oh, I'm so cold. I'm going to go get some tea. So I made myself some hot tea, but then my kids are making snow cream. So I literally have a bowl of snow and my hot tea.
You got to have balance.
Yeah. So we're going to go with like eat a little snow and then.
That's funny.
You can only do like snow cream right after it snows, so you don't end up with like animal stuff on the snow.
Yeah.
So it's like, gotta do it the day that it snows.
Yes. I always think of I don't know if like this was still a thing when you were little, Kelly, but did you watch the Little Bear or Huck? Did you
Watch what?
Little Bear, I think is what it was called, and it was like
I don't think
a
so.
family of bears. Anyway, there was this one episode where they got snowed in and they made, maybe it was just with like maple syrup and the snow or something, but like it looked like the most delicious thing. Like
this is really good. It's snow with a little bit of cream, maple syrup, and vanilla.
Nice.
It's delicious. You probably don't get a lot of opportunities to make snow cream though.
Yeah. When you first said snow cream, my brain was like, what? But then I was like, oh, I know what it must be. Yeah.
Yeah, they've been playing in the snow all day. It's so great because we haven't had much snow for Minnesota. We have not had much snow.
Mm-hmm.
And it snowed like 3 or 4 inches last night. So it's like nice and fluffy snow. So they've just been loving it, like out jumping around in it and everything. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, when I was really little, I did get to play in the snow a little bit because we would visit our family in the Midwest. And normally we would go in the summer, but there were a few times we went in the winter. And that was like the most exciting, amazing thing to us is like actually getting to play in snow like people do in movies.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like the snow that's great to do stuff with. Like we tried doing like snowmen and stuff, and it was mostly like icy, but it was still fun.
Yeah. We've had mostly ice because it had snowed in early December, and then it was really warm the week of warm. I mean, like 40 the week of Christmas. So a lot of it melted, but then became ice. And so we've just had really icy conditions, which it makes it hard to recreate outside, which Minnesotans like to recreate outside in the snow. And it's been really dangerous. But the kids have been loving it because they go to their after school programs at the nature center I work at. And we've got these retention ponds that, like, you know, when it's not frozen, they're like, you know, meant to like pull the storm water off into the creek or whatever. Mm-hmm. And now they're just like giant skating rinks.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So they've been like just playing around on them, like pulling each other with sleds and like going down the hill onto the retention pond. It's been a blast, and about the only thing they can do without like snow.
Yeah, that is cool. Ice skating was always the thing that looked most fun about having cold weather, which obviously like you can go to an ice skating rink if you have one, but yeah.
Do you have snow, Huck? Because it seems like a lot of places, places that don't normally have snow on the East Coast have snow this year.
Yeah, we've gotten snow. We used to get a lot more. When I was little, we would get a lot more snow, and it was deep enough to like, you know, you could like tunnel under the snow and stuff. It was
Yeah.
a lot. But you know, as the years have gone on, we get less and less snow every year.
Oh, global warming.
Yeah, I wonder
Welcome
why. But yeah, we've had some snow. We got like 6 inches, like I don't know, was that like 2 weeks ago or something? But then it hasn't like melted or anything, and then we got another like 3 inches the other day. So,
Mhm.
what did we do? Oh yeah, okay. But yeah, so we have a decent amount of snow. Merlin has been loving it. I worry about his little feet getting cold. Like I have a snow jacket for him
Mhm.
that is like fleece on the inside and it is waterproof on the outside, and you know it has like a built-in harness. It has all of this. And then I get worried about his little feet getting cold, but then he just like launches himself into a snowdrift and is like, "This is amazing!"
Yeah,
So,
but he doesn't seem to mind.
You should
I
get
think
little
he's okay.
snow booties for
I
him.
was so
You
cute.
know, I actually here's the thing. I ordered him some snow booties. I wasn't going to, but recently there have been a couple of times we've been on a walk where he'll suddenly start limping, and
Mhm.
I will check his feet to see like if there's anything wrong, and I can't find anything wrong with his feet. So I don't know what's going on. Like I always check between his toes to make sure there aren't any like chunks of ice or something in there.
Right.
He seems fine, but it makes me worried about his feet. So I like wasn't originally going to make it because I don't think he's going to like wearing booties. So I wasn't going to inflict that on him.
Yeah.
But if he's going to start limping,
Yeah.
you know, like, and it doesn't last. It only lasts like for that walk. And then we get home, I clean off his feet because they salt incredibly heavily around here. And I just worry, and he licks his feet a lot. So, I don't want him licking that. But yes, anyway, I don't remember why but I wasn't originally going to give him booties, but now if he's going to be like limping spontaneously,
Yeah.
he might have to wear them. We'll see. But yeah, he's having a great time.
Yeah.
Also, he's been like really obsessed with like he always loves sniffing. He's a hound, but he seems like way more intense about it. And I was looking up like, can snow, like, does it preserve scents better or something? And
Oh,
apparently the cold can preserve a scent better than, like in warmer weather.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why, as long as it doesn't snow so heavily that it then covers it up.
Yeah.
But he has been very into it.
So Merlin is thriving.
Yes, he's having a great time. And we went over for a play date the other day at my parents' house so he could play with their dogs. And of course, their younger dog, Raven, also thriving, loving the snow, even though she has barely any hair. She has a very thin coat, that very like sleek kind of coat, nothing that would keep her warm. She does not care. She's going to go out in the snow. But their older dog, Timber, who is part husky, he is usually not very playful with the younger ones because they are too intense for him. But he actually was playing with them the other day because he likes the snow so much that he was actually feeling much more playful than usual.
Oh.
Yeah, it was very cute.
I think
I love huskies. They're such beautiful dogs.
Yeah.
I do too. And that's why we're considering getting a dog. And I'm like, I feel like I could actually have a husky here. Like in Ohio, I didn't feel like it would be right to have a husky because it gets so hot. But here, it's cold for so long. They would like thrive. I mean, we see a lot of huskies. There's a lot of huskies and a lot of I'm trying to think about those big white dogs.
Samoyeds?
Is it like a European? I don't know. They're big fluffy white Newfoundlands. Is that what there are?
Oh, Newfoundlands are usually black or brown.
Yeah. Oh, then it probably is whatever you said. But it's a big, we have a couple
Samoyeds are usually about the size or a little bit smaller than huskies, but they're incredibly fluffy.
Oh, okay, then that's
pointy
probably
ears or not pointy ears.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. We have a couple of those in our neighborhood. These just like giant white fluffy dogs, and they seem to be loving the outdoors.
They could also be a what is that other dog? There is like a type of like a livestock guardian dog that is white, and I can't remember the name of it right now. Nope, I don't know. Anyways, yeah, huskies they're very difficult though.
Yeah,
they have a lot of energy and a lot of personality. Timber is part husky, and so I feel like he kind of got the best of both worlds with the breeds that he's a mix of.
Yeah. And I think huskies is one of the ones where sometimes they're not great with kids, right?
I don't know, actually. I'm not really sure how they are with kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting a mix could be a great way to go. And
yeah, there are breed-specific rescues also, if you're interested in rescuing, that like, I'm sure there's actually a huge problem right after Game of Thrones came out, where people were getting a bunch of huskies because they looked the closest to wolves, and people were obsessed with the dire wolves, and then they like would give them to shelters and stuff because they were more trouble than people expected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We probably won't get a husky because we don't have a fenced-in yard. We would have to fence it in because huskies just run.
Oh yeah, they're escape artists.
Yeah, so I think we probably would. And like our yard is decent size, but maybe not like giant dog decent size. I don't know. We could walk. There's a lot of places to walk around here. But I know like when my husband had a husky when we first got together and we lived on a camp, and he would like actually attach the long leash to the golf cart, and that's how he would like run the husky, because you can't just let him go and he needed to run. And so he was just so fast that it was like being a sled dog. He would just be like attached.
Like so he's had a husky before.
Yeah, so he's had a husky, and so he just like ran him with the golf cart, but we can't do that here. And so I'm like, I don't think he would get enough exercise unless we fenced in the yard.
Yeah. There are like some other like large cold weather breeds though that like, what's that one? Is it Bernese Mountain Dogs?
Yeah.
They're cold weather dogs, and they're kind of I think they're lazier.
Right. I was like, I think they're more chill than some of the other ones.
Yeah. I know that there's a lot of people here have cattle dogs, which like, like whether that's like Australian, like actual cattle dogs, but like also like Australian shepherds and border collies, because they still like the snow, and like they obviously need a lot of exercise, but they can also have a fenced in yard with like exercise stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
And they might be smarter to have an electric fence, because I think we would do an electric fence instead of building a fence.
Yeah, electric fences don't always work, because some dogs will realize that if they just run fast enough, they can get through it, and then it's done.
So we'd have to see. Our neighbor has a dog with an electric fence, but he's also kind of a lazy dog. Like he doesn't really want to do more than is required.
Like, oh no, I can't get out of my yard.
Like, this is where they feed me. I'm fine.
Yeah. Well, and also like we were saying, if you were looking at like mixed breeds, a lot of times they're healthier, and you might be able to get like, I don't know, like the best of both worlds, kind of like Huck was saying about Timber, where it's like they might have some of the characteristics you want, but maybe not as intensely. Like the dog that me and my family had when I was really, really little, she was a mix, and she was like German Shepherd and like a bunch of other things, but because she was a mix, she didn't have like, I don't know, some of the, not concerns, because like they're animals and they're just being themselves, but you know what I mean, things that like might make them more complicated to care for.
So there's bred into them, like bred when they're bred too much.
Which Yeah, it makes me so mad that it's like humans screw up their genetics and then they're like, we don't like this. It's like, well, it's your fault. It's not the dogs. Like,
Yeah, or like the people that do like the things like the certain dogs that like where they trim the ears or trim the
oh,
tails
yeah.
for aesthetics. I'm like, but that's not how the dog is naturally.
Yeah.
So why is that like the standard when that's not how they're naturally made?
Yeah.
Like for some breeds, there are specific reasons for that. But in most cases, for dogs that are pets, that's unnecessary. But for some breeds, like I know that there are some, like, especially for like ones that are livestock guardian breeds, they dock their ears so that if they like get into a fight with a wild animal protecting the herd, there's one less thing for like a coyote to grab onto, which like that makes sense, I guess. But like if your dog is a pet, there's no reason for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If your dog's just gonna be hanging out in your backyard, they're not like work dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I've been seeing a little about basically there are some dog breeders who are like intentionally making extreme breeds more like normal and like healthy and stuff. Like I forget if it was pugs or a similar dog that has been bred to have like such a short nose to the point where it is like unhealthy for them and you have to be really careful. And like breeders have been intentionally like basically making that more normal, which I think is really cool.
Well,
So I hope they do that with more.
Yeah. And I think if we got a dog, we would definitely do rescue because there's several rescue organizations around here, and I just like don't see the point in spending $1,000 for somebody to have like bred a dog when there's dogs over here that need homes.
Exactly. Yeah, we're a big pro rescue family too.
And like there's so many scams too about the breeders. Like my parents have dachshunds and have had, well, not now. They have a rescue, but their last like 2 dogs before that were dachshunds, and so to get a dachshund you have to go through a breeder, or most of the time, and it was the last time. This is why they went with a rescue. Was the last time they tried to get a dachshund, they got scammed and ended up like almost losing a ton of money to like some fake breeder online.
There are still some scam rescues, so it's good to do like some research about them because there are some where like, well, there are some that say that they're rescues, but they're really just puppy mills. There are some that will like just like take your money and different things. There are some where like they lie about the health of the dog, what kind of veterinary work that they've gotten. Like there are all kinds of things. So it's still like good to still got to look out for scams with rescues, but if there are ones in your area that you're like familiar with and they're like good rescues, then great.
Yeah. There's one that's like kind of like the Humane Society. I think they might even be through the Humane Society, but they like my daughter's gone to like camp there where they have like the kids go and like they get to like just pet the cats like for hours of the day. I was like, what did you do today? She's like, we petted the cats. I'm like, did you do anything else? She's like, no, we just like sat in the cat room and then we got to go sit with the kittens and hold the kittens. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it is very important to get them socialized to like human interaction and touch. Like I remember when I was volunteering at our local cat shelter, that was one of the things that like most of the time I was like cleaning stuff, but like the fun part was it's like, oh, we need like these adorable kitties to be comfortable around people so they can get adopted. And I was like, I will help the adorable kitties become comfortable around people. Like
that's what my dad does now as like his volunteer stuff because he's like, oh, I can't do stuff that's really active. So he just goes to the Humane Society and pets cats.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's nice.
Yep.
But she loved it, even though I was like all day camp of just like petting cats, but She was having a good time.
She's like, it was the best day ever, Mom. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, she loved it. Well, I guess they did get to take like at one point got to take the dogs out for a walk, but that was about it.
Yeah.
I thought they would like be cleaning cages and doing all that stuff, but they basically just socialized the animals.
Yeah. I wonder if like the older kids at camp, it's like, okay, now you can learn how to do some of this. But
yeah, probably with the older.
I finished the ribbing, so now I can go to just doing my straight stockinette.
yay!
This is the first time I've done 2x2 ribbing, which I like the look of.
That's cool. Like, so I've never done socks. So you start at the top. Is that what you're saying? So you start at the top with the
This one, yes. I'm assuming you could probably go the other way too.
You can. I never have, and I don't think I will because I just don't think I would like it as much. But yeah, you can do top down or toe up.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is what it looks like so far. It is a little bit of ribbing at the top. And then and then I'm doing like the ankle part now, which is just stockinette round and round. Yeah. I need to write down how many rows I did though.
Yes.
You said that was
from experience.
A 2 and 2. That's what I have to, because I have to start my hat brim before my class. Like they want us to have the brim done, so they can just start right in on the cabling.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is a 2, and I'm interested in that because I was struggling with the 1 on my last hat because I was just so bored of like, oh, I have to keep moving the yarn.
I know. I hate ribbing. It is, and it's like important because it is good for fit and it's in a lot of projects, but I hate doing it because it's like, yeah, you're just constantly moving the yarn, but it's boring.
I think like also though, like I knit continental style, which I find it not that difficult to like switch where the yarn is for ribbing. Like ribbing is annoying because you have to switch back and forth, but I have gotten kind of a rhythm for it because of like where my working yarn is, and I have like a method now.
Well, that's great for you, Huck. I'm so glad you're enjoying your continental over there.
I'm trying to move to continental because I did not learn it that way. But then when I did that ribbing for that last hat, I was like, this would be a lot easier if I did continental. But then it's like I had to relearn how to knit.
Yeah. At some point, I think I'm going to have to learn how to do, what is it called? English style, right?
Yeah. There's like a lot of different names for it. Like,
yeah.
Because there's some people who it's like, oh, there's like Dutch knitting and German knitting and blah, blah. And some of them are names for the same thing, but some of them aren't. Some of them are actually different. And it's very confusing.
I think I'm going to have to learn the other way though, because at some point I do want to do color work. And it seems like it's much easier if you can have like one strand in each hand.
Yeah.
So I also kind of want to learn how to knit like the opposite direction, like instead of moving things over to the right, moving things over to the left, because then you don't have to purl if you're doing flat. You can just knit back and forth like a little machine.
Yeah, that's true. I don't mind purling actually. Like, I mean, when I'm knitting stuff in the round, yes, it is nice that I just have to knit and not worry about it. But it's not like I'm not going to like rewrite a project so that I don't have to purl. And I know a lot of people do that.
Oh, I wouldn't rewrite something, but I would teach myself how to knit left-handed.
See, I would never do that, but that's power to you.
I mean, I also, when I was little, taught myself how to read upside down so that I could like cheat on puzzles. That like you know, in the Sunday paper and the cartoons, there were like certain puzzles and the answers were written upside down, and I taught myself how to read upside down so that I could read the answers without turning it. So yeah.
My cat just like knocked the iron down. I was like,
oh, no.
I was like, is it leaking water? I guess I should go check and make sure it's not.
Go for it.
Putting water all over the floor. If I can move my table.
I am pretty sure I may have messed something up in my cabling because there was one point where I got a little confused and I was like, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Was that 3 knit stitches in a row? That was supposed to only be 2.
Yeah.
So there might be one spot that's a little wonky, but I don't care that much. I'm okay with a certain amount of mistakes.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
It gives it character.
Yeah, that's how you know it was handmade.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm getting tired of knitting.
When I was talking to one of my brothers at one point, because we were talking about that I was like getting into knitting, and he was like, oh, you know, next year all the Hanukkah presents going to be knit. And I was like, oh my God, that would be too hard.
Yeah.
Better start now. You have
truly, it would take forever.
Yeah.
Although
That's why it's like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I saw some people online saying how like what they did for the holidays was they would like knit up a little swatch, and then they'd put like a card on it that was like, this is, you know, redeemable for one knit project. And so it wasn't like they had to like have it done by, you know, Christmas or whatever the holiday.
Yeah.
And I was like, I like that idea. I would, if I were to do something like that, I probably would be like, this is for like one knit like accessory. You can do like,
Yes.
like I want to learn how to make like mittens and stuff too. So but maybe by then I can be like, you know, socks, mittens, hat, scarf. You can have one accessory.
Yeah.
No sweaters.
Yes.
Not doing sweaters. It takes too long. But,
No blankets.
right. Also, ideally something that takes like 1 to 2 skeins of yarn.
Yeah.
And yeah, and like less than a month to make. So, but also I like that idea. 1, it takes some of the time pressure off, and 2, then you can also, there's a degree that they can like personalize it. You know, you can ask them like what colors they want or something instead of just trying to guess.
And you could like measure their head without them being like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
True.
Or guessing, being like, I think you're a size large hat. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. So if I did do knit gifts, that is probably what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that's really smart.
I usually end up doing is, and this, I mean, this still takes planning and it doesn't always work out perfectly, but I kind of try and like stagger them. So it's like, okay, this person won't be getting like a Christmas knit gift, but their birthday is in like 4 or 5 months. And by then I can have, you know, so I try and plan out like that. I don't think there's ever a year. I did that once and it was so stressful where like everybody was getting like a knit present and it was a lot. So never again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I can't commit because I take forever to make things because I get distracted.
Oh, I think Merlin's listening to whatever the background sound on your end is. Can you see that he's all alert?
My kids?
Yeah, I think he hears them and he suddenly is like, what is that?
They're playing, we're trying to like lower the amount of iPad time. So we're allowing them to do some things that are kind of just wild. So today we got out the old crib mattress that we still haven't gotten rid of because we're like, what are you supposed to do with this? And they're like, one of them is laying under the mattress and the other one's like on top of the mattress. They're kind of like doing like airplane, but with the mattress, like
where they're like, sounds like something I would have done as a kid. We had a lot of weird games like that.
Yeah, so they're doing that. So I think they're getting a little wild up there, but they're having.
But they're not on iPads.
Yeah, so there you go.
Hey, yeah,
that's funny.
So we're working towards like stuff because right now when you tell them just to play with their toys, they're like, we don't have any toys. I'm like, we literally just had Christmas. So
right, that's a lie.
So you have to like think of other creative things for them to do.
Yeah.
Or like my one takes like a 2-hour long bath on a Sunday in order to like have something to do. And I'm like, that's fine.
All right. Getting
Yeah.
in on self-care early in
Mhm.
life. I missed a couple comments. Mallory said their dog is a breed that's usually cropped, but she's not. But she has a spot on her tail that has a dent in it where it would usually be docked. It is literally bred into some breeds, which is wild. Yeah.
Okay.
And a fan of toe-up socks. Maybe you can convince me to try it at some point. Like, and one of the benefits that I know, like people who love toe-up socks, they're like, well, you can try them on as you go. And I'm like,
Mhm.
that is
That's the
really
thing.
nice.
Toe up sounds like it's the equivalent of top down sweaters.
Yeah.
Start with like the shaping and the curve, and it's easier to try on as you go.
Yeah. I feel like at this point, one of the main things that's stopping me is that basically all the patterns I've ever gotten have been for top down socks. And I'm like, well, I don't really want to feel like, not that I would need to, but I don't want to feel like, oh, okay, now I have to expand my sock knitting library.
Hmm. Yeah, I also kind of want to get into like, I'm hoping, so far I'm liking making this sock. I'm hoping that I continue enjoying making socks because there are so many like fun color work socks.
Yeah.
And I really, really want to do color work, but doing color work on a sweater feels like such a huge commitment. And so I feel like starting out on like maybe a hat would be better because it's less fine, but just like smaller projects seems like a
Yeah.
good way to start.
There's some really pretty color work headbands.
Hmm.
And that's one of the ones that I sort of have been trying out. It's one of my many in progress projects that I need to get back to. But that's been sort of my dipping my toes into color work, like specifically stranded color work, because I've done like stripes and things and other kinds, but
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of am interested in like what is it called, like color blocking color work?
oh, intarsia,
Maybe that's what it is.
but I think also color blocking. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew there was like a fancy name that I forgot, but like, yeah, I'm kind of interested in that also.
I
Yeah.
think I haven't found any patterns I'm really excited about for intarsia, so I don't actually know anything about like the technique.
Yeah.
Actually, one that I really love, and I need to, like, I have a couple patterns on it. I think most of them were free, and I really want to actually like use them. But it's mosaic knitting, and
Oh,
it looks so beautiful, and it's also
yeah.
a lot easier than stranded color work because it's just about like knitting or slipping stitches, and that's how you mix the colors together, and it looks so beautiful.
Yeah, that does look cool.
Like, I honestly sometimes like them even better than actual stranded color work.
Hmm.
Well, now I have to look it up. Mosaic?
Yeah, it's called mosaic knitting.
Oh, yeah, that looks cool.
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah.
Since you crochet, Huck, do you ever do Tunisian crochet? Or have you
I
not tried it?
have. Yeah.
Did you like it or was it not that exciting? I've never tried it.
I had kind of mixed feelings about it, I guess. I like you can do some cool textures with it, I think. Um it I feel like it ends up being even more like thick and dense than regular crochet. So one of the things that's good about it is like if you're making a garment, it doesn't have holes in it the way a lot of other crochet stitches do. So that's nice. You get like a solid thing. And there is even a Tunisian knit stitch, which looks like knitting, but it's a lot denser. I found that it like my hands got really tired because if you're making something large, which usually you are with Tunisian crochet, it just like weighs down on my hands. So like my hands just got really tired doing it. Also, Tunisian crochet is not stretchy. So also not my favorite for so like I have a sweater that I made using a Tunisian stitch and I think it looks cool. It's not the most comfortable to wear. I also think that I may have made it a little too small, but it's not the most comfortable to wear because it is so like dense and thick. So like around the elbows, it feels very bulky. And then it's not stretchy, so it's not as comfortable for like moving. So that's my opinions.
Tunisian hot takes on Tunisian crochet. Like
what?
I said hot takes on Tunisian crochet.
But like it looks cool, but then I'm like, I don't know what I would want to even do with it. So it's like,
yeah, I'm not really sure what. I guess I feel like people use it for making blankets.
Yeah, because then they would be nice and thick.
Yeah. Although I feel like that would get really heavy on the needles, and you would probably have to get some kind of like, I don't even know, like some way of extending or on the like the hook, because usually it's on like a hook that's like this long. But if you're doing a blanket, you would need like more space. And I'm not, there are probably like extending cords for it the way you can get with like knitting needles.
Well, and one I saw was like, you know, a temperature blanket. And I saw it with Tunisian crochet, but then you do it as like row, like you do like, like one section and then you like sew the sections together.
Oh, that would make more sense. Yeah.
So I think that's maybe what some people do with blankets is they do them in long strips and then sew the strips together.
Yeah.
And there's probably some way to make it look more seamless when you sew it together.
We also just got.
Yeah, that's essentially what we're talking about. Is like,
can you do smaller squares and sew them together for the Tunisian crochet?
Yeah, you definitely could.
Yeah, I mean, similar to like doing like granny squares, right?
Yeah. So. Oh, I feel like I'm making my stitches too tight.
That was my problem when I was first knitting. My tension was always too much.
Yeah. I'm definitely a tight knitter. Which is why I think when I make my next hat, I'm going to go up a size, I think, maybe. Because I just know I'm going to knit tight. So
yeah.
That's also
almost has the framework for the paper mache together, almost ready for the messy part.
Oh,
good luck.
Best part.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Huck?
Oh, I was saying, earlier we were talking about like purling, and that is also one of my issues. Is that like my purls are so much looser than my knits. So.
I think I've heard from people that color work a lot of times can be like a lot of people I think make it tighter, maybe. Is it tighter?
Yeah, color work people, you have to intentionally make it looser because it tends to be very tight and dense from what I've seen. And yeah, that's a problem that people have a lot of times. So you have to like really try to knit more loosely.
I still do a lot of times, like when I was first doing socks, and I still had a tendency to knit kind of tightly. And one of the tips they gave in the like step by step, here is every single thing you do when you're making a sock, which I needed. Their sort of like tip for that is like if you find that you're casting on too tight, is because especially with like when you're doing socks on double pointed needles, you have to like slide the stitches around a lot. So if you're too tight, it's really, really hard. And so what they said is like, if you're having that problem, hold 2 of your double pointed needles together and cast onto that as if it's one. And then you can just slide it out. And like, I still do that sometimes. Like, I mostly have gotten to the point where like I don't need to worry about knitting too tight or casting on too tight. But once in a while, I still do that when it's something that I know I'm going to need like extra mobility for to kind of like slide around. So, yep.
Yeah, I'm just trying to loosen up a little bit.
Aren't we all?
I was gonna say, yeah, that'd be nice. Loosen up.
But I mean, like, that's one of the things I was thinking about this when I, like, it kind of like, I also don't like to do it too tightly because it makes my hands tire out faster.
Yes.
Yes. And that was one of the things that the thing that this connected to in my mind was when I was like, I don't know, 12 or whatever. And, you know, I was taking harp lessons, and you're supposed, and like, it's really tempting to like have really like a lot of tension in your hands, and you have to like really practice like having very like not limp hands, but having a lot less tension and having like wow, my brain just like stopped thinking. Like having less tension in your hands and like making them like looser so that your hands don't tire out, and your hands are also then more like agile and able to like do things. It's just harder to play. Anyways, so this just reminded me, the feeling of that reminded me a lot of this, of being like, right, just like relax your hands.
Yes. Knit with harp fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah, relaxing's not my strong suit of like. I mean, like, I would go to the like physical therapist for like my shoulder, and they do the thing where they're like moving it around, and he's like, just let it lay there. I'm moving it, and then he has to, I need you to relax. I need you to just let go. And I'm like, but I want to move my own arm. I don't want you moving my arm.
Also, it's like, that's why I'm here, is because I can't relax it myself. This is your job, sir. No.
Yeah, and I just he has to remind me like several times. He's like, let go. I'm like, okay, fine. Trying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I think we got some more comments.
Oh, let me catch up. Let's see. Listening to this chat, I just want to work on my crochet ornaments now. I know, it's so fun to like craft along with people, whether it's like virtual or even like listening to something. Oh, so yes, I am using, I don't know who this question was for, but we can all share about our needles if we like. So I am using like a very small set. This is a US 2.5, so it's 3 millimeters. And then when I'm sewing things together, I am using a darning needle that is very, very small. So yes, I am working with extra small things because I'm making these like cute little flowers that I've been using to like decorate on like the hair accessory things I'm doing. I meant to grab the one I finished, but I did not. So
again, I don't know who this is directed to, but the ones I'm using are very itty bitty. You can see these. So I got these specifically for making socks. So these, I think they're like 9-inch fixed circular needles. So they're very small, and they are, I already forgot. I looked at this earlier, and where does it, wait a minute, which side has the size on it? They are a size 1.5, which is 2.5 millimeters. So they are very, very tiny. Honestly, I do have like tapestry needles that are the same size as this. So they are very tiny.
Yeah.
But they're for making little teeny circumference things like socks. And I hope these socks fit me.
Mine are not small.
Kelly's like, I know this question wasn't for me.
Mine do not look like teeny tiny because my yarn's kind of bulky.
How cute. It was, the question was for you.
Okay. Well, glad we answered. The stitch marker I'm using is not even a real stitch marker. I don't know if you can even see what this looks like. You can see this little teeny stitch marker right there. That is a jump ring that I twisted into like a little figure 8 shape so I could use it as a stitch marker, because I wanted something that was usually a lot of the ones I use. Hold on, I have like a bajillion stitch markers now. But the ones I usually use are like this light bulb shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that shape, but these are way too big for the amount of, for like the size of the thing that I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
So I've just been using like tiny, tiny jump rings. I also, when I cast on, I was putting on stitch markers every 10 stitches, so I didn't have to like count so much. And let me show you the ones I was using for that. If I can find them. Oh my God, where did these go? Nope, I'm just losing it. Everything is lost in my bag now.
Yeah.
I saw them like a second ago. Oh, here we go. Okay. Yeah, so these were, if you can, oh, you can't even see these. I feel like one of those like beauty people trying to hold
Yeah,
things
you
up.
put your like hand behind it. Like,
Yeah, because they're so little. Like, I don't know if you can even see how tiny this jump ring is. That is the size of the jump ring I was using as a stitch marker. And then the stitch marker that I twisted was like a jump ring that's like this size that I twisted into like a figure 8.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I have too many cute stitch markers, so I always use those instead of like, I don't know, improvising some.
Mm-hmm. Just every stitch marker I have was just too big for this, you know?
Yes.
It was
Yeah,
gonna like
that's
get in the
true.
way and like fall off or something.
I actually, now that you mention it, I did have to specifically get a set that was like small enough to be usable on like small needle projects. I am gonna need to grab something to eat because I did not plan my meal times appropriately for our craft session. So I don't know if you guys want to do like another little sprint or if we want to wrap up. What are your thoughts?
Maybe wrap up, because I am gonna need to walk Merlin and give him his dinner soon.
Okay.
So
Sounds good. So we're gonna end it here, our little crafting session. Thank you for those of you hanging out with
people's
us.
progress. I just want to see what people.
Yeah. Let's do a little progress check before we wrap up.
Okay, I have to like finish this row and then I can show you my progress.
Yes, I have a couple of very cute, if I do say so myself, little flowers. It's hard to see, but like,
cute.
they also look really cute. Like, I've been layering them on things, so I think that would be really cute too.
Oh yeah.
So that's what I've done.
Yeah. Well, since are you still finishing your row? I have made it 7 more rows, so
Yeah,
it's like,
oh, I like the color.
It's really pretty.
So it's kind of like a navy base with a bunch of colors.
Green, yeah, I like that a lot.
I guess I already showed this, but I have the cuff of my with 4 rows of stockinette so far, but I started with 7 rows of the cuff, and I ended with 16 rows of the cuff and then did 4 rows of stockinette. So like 14, 13 rows while we talked.
We're going, yeah.
So, made some progress.
Yeah.
It's starting to look somewhat sockish.
It is. It is. Thank you. I hope you have a good one as well. Thanks to people hanging out with us or watching this later. Yes, everybody's projects are looking so pretty. So anything to add, Kelly and Huck? Don't forget to check them out. I linked both of them in the description. And I am really proud of us for our first 2025 craft sprint being in January. So thank you. Was it Huck who like suggested this one when we were planning it?
Yes.
So thank
Huck
you for
just
keeping
started.
us on track.
Keeping us, you know.
Yeah. And Merlin, thank you for your help as well.
Yeah. For sleeping through this.
I mean, that is help when it's like
Honestly, when the alternative is chaos, good job.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody. We will see you for another crafting sprint sometime.
Don't do that.